tapping behind my bedroom wall was the old pipe settling, until the night it whispered my name. My wife and I moved into a 1940s brownstone in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Boston. It was the kind of place that had sharp arched doorways, creaky hardwood floors, and those built-in bookshelves you only see in old movies. It needed work, but it felt like home. Almost immediately, though, something felt off. First night, as we lay in bed, I heard it. A light tapping tap, tap, tap somewhere inside the wall behind our headboard. I chalked it up to the plumbing or maybe old wood shifting with the cold. The noise wasn't constant, just sporadic. I told my wife, Rachel, and she agreed it was probably just the house settling. But it kept happening. Every night, around the same time, somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., the tapping returned. Sometimes it was faint, like a pencil lightly hitting drywall. Other times it was sharp. Deliberate tap, 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 always in threes. I knocked back once, just to see what would happen. Silence. I didn't say anything to Rachel that time. I didn't want to scare her. But the next night, the tapping started again, this time followed by a slow scratching sound, like fingernails dragging across plaster. About a week in, things escalated. The house was dark except for a small lamp left on in the living room. Rachel was asleep upstairs. As I passed the staircase, I heard footsteps above me, heavy, slow. I froze, heart thumping in my throat. I came home late from work one night. I found her asleep in bed, headphones and white noise playing. She hadn't moved. Ratch, I called. No signs of rats, raccoons, even spiders. Just dust and darkness. No answer. The footsteps stopped. He walked through the house, knocked on walls, even brought out a thermal scanner. Nothing. Everything was intact. I climbed the stairs, each step groaning under my weight. The next morning, I checked the attic and the basement for animals or loose boards, anything that could be causing the sounds. Nothing. Night, the tapping came earlier. It started at 1:47 a.m. as I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Tap, 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 then the voice. It started behind our bed, then shifted to the wall near the closet, then near the door, like something crawling through the walls. Faint, childlike, from inside the wall. Hello. We stood there in silence, straining to hear anything. I sat bolt upright. Rachel stirred beside me but didn't wake. I leaned close to the wall. Who's there? No reply. Just silence thick enough to choke on. The next day I called a contractor to check for structural issues. You sure you're not hearing mice? He asked. No pipes, no signs of rodents. I wanted to believe that. That night, Rachel finally heard it too. She shook me awake around 3 a.m. Eyes wide. Do you hear that? The tapping was louder now, angrier, and this time it moved. She said she'd heard someone calling her name, crying, begging for help, flickering black and white, like someone trying to break through. She didn't believe me. I didn't believe myself. We got out of bed and followed the sound down the hallway. It stopped in the guest room. The air inside felt different, thicker, colder, like the room had been closed off for years. Then came a whisper. Let me out. Rachel screamed and ran. I stood there, paralyzed. The voice sounded like it was right behind the drywall, so close I could feel breath on my neck. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I punched a hole in the guest room wall, just to be sure. There was nothing inside but insulation and studs, no crawl space. But scratched into the wooden beam behind the drywall were 3 words. Over and over again, let me out. I didn't show Rachel. I told her it was just a weird draft behind the wall. Maybe some loose insulation shifting around. We started sleeping with the TV on. Sometimes I'd hear static at random even though we had a streaming service. The last night we spent in that house, I woke up to find Rachel gone. I found her standing in the hallway facing the guest room door, her eyes blank. It's in the walls, she whispered. I reached out to her and she flinched like I was a stranger. We moved out the next day. Didn't even sell the house. Left half our stuff behind. Last I checked, it's still vacant. But every so often in the dead of night, I wake up to silence so heavy it hums ends where I can hear it again. Tap, tap, tap.